Every Friday, we bring you a Reporter Roundtable where we get you up to date on the news that made headlines during the week. Be sure to join our panel of reporters by subscribing and listening to the Idaho Matters podcast every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts.
From Boise State Public Radio, this is The Connector, Idaho's daily news. Good morning, I'm James Dawson in for George Prentice. It's Thursday, April 10th, and here are today's headlines. President Donald Trump temporarily backed away from most of the tariff hikes he announced last week. Still, trading partners will face a 10% tariff rise, but he doubled down on China with a 125% increase. Julie Lucchetta takes a look at what this back and forth might mean for Idaho's export industry.
According to the USDA, America exports about $24 billion worth of farm goods to China, making it the U.S.'s third largest agricultural partner.
Over half of those exports are soybeans. We don't grow soybeans in the state of Idaho, which in this scenario is very good for Idaho farmers.
That's University of Idaho economist Brett Wilder. According to the Idaho Department of Commerce, Idaho's trade with China has been declining for the last few years. In 2023, the state exported about $180 million of goods to the country, with 55% coming from the food and agricultural industry.
The uncertainty of it all is making decisions very difficult.
Future crop yields and animal productions are planned months and years in advance.
People have to make that decision right now and live with that decision through the rest of the year, even if something changes next week.
Idaho exports about $4 billion worth of goods each year, a third coming from the agricultural industry. It also imports $6 billion in commodities from abroad. Wilder says it's hard to know what the impact of tariff increases will have on the state.
Other than it's fairly easy to say that consumers will see higher prices.
Julie Lucchetta, Boise State Public Radio News.
Staying on tariffs for a minute, the outdoor recreation industry is trying to keep up with the fast-moving decisions. The businesses of skiing, climbing, biking, and more sports is a big deal in the Mountain West. Kent Ebersol is the president of the Boulder-based Outdoor Industry Association, a trade group. He says most outdoor gear requires specialized manufacturing done overseas.
If you wanted to stay dry and you wanted to make sure that the wind didn't make you uncomfortable or chilly, then you're talking about a level of technical expertise in the product.
Ebersol says 4 out of 5 member companies recently surveyed say China has a big impact on their business, the country at the center of Trump's trade war. Governor Brad Little has signed off on an $83.2 million budget for the state's new public defense office. The office took control of the constitutional requirement to give indigent criminal defendants access to legal representation from counties in October. It's been plagued by accusations of leaving defendants without a lawyer for weeks. The ACLU of Idaho filed a lawsuit late last year, saying more than 1,000 defendants have been affected. The extra cash will go toward hiring 18 new lawyers and paying contracted attorneys more money. An ambitious effort to understand the connections between firefighting and cancer is on pause indefinitely. As the Mountain West News Bureau's Murphy Woodhouse reports, that comes after thousands of layoffs at the Department of Health and Human Services.
Registration for the congressionally mandated National Firefighter Registry for Cancer opened up 2 years ago, and nearly 24,000 current and former firefighters have since signed up.
NFR is the best way to improve our overall understanding of cancer risks across the entire fire service.
That's Dr. Jeff Burgess, a public health professor at the University of Arizona who has studied firefighter health for several decades. The NFR is especially important, he says, due to how little is known about risks for wildland firefighters. The program is part of the CDC's National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. The agency said in an email that the enrollment system is down indefinitely due to staffing cuts and that the data cannot currently be analyzed. A high-level CDC official familiar with the NFR, who spoke with the Bureau anonymously for fear of retribution, calls the shutdown devastating. It would be a travesty, they say, for the data to just sit there. For the Mountain West News Bureau, I'm Murphy Woodhouse.
And the city of Boise has changed who gets final say on conditional building permits that have been appealed. Jackson Holmes has more.
In January, the Idaho Supreme Court ruled that the Boise City Council's decision to approve Interfaith Sanctuary's conditional use permit was unlawful because planning and zoning commissioners had denied it. At the commissioners' meeting this week, Commissioner Chris Danley clarified the proposal to change the approval process was separate from the sanctuary.
What you're hearing tonight has roots with respect to the shelter in a different application. However, what is in front of us tonight does not have to do specifically with IFF or any other application.
On Tuesday, the commissioners decided to amend the city zoning ordinances on conditional use permits. The staff presenting the proposal said the intention was to set clear standards.
Planning staff recommend approval as the amendment improves the review process by granting City Council the necessary review authority to ensure correct code implementation, achieve public benefits, and align development with the city's comprehensive plan. And it creates a predictable development pattern by clarifying decision-making authority.
The unanimous approval allows the Boise City Council to hear appeals on zoning decisions and overturn decisions by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Advocates of the new amendment say the Idaho Supreme Court's decision was a recommendation for code updates. In a process called de novo review, the City Council will be able to review the entire proposed project rather than just the previous decision. Then, they have the power to overturn the decision if they see fit. Katie Decker spoke at Tuesday's meeting as a representative for the Veterans Park Neighborhood Association.
If a shift to de novo review were truly a long-standing policy goal, it would have been part of that public process, not introduced now, just weeks after the Idaho Supreme Court overturned Interfaith Sanctuary's CUP.
The approval of the amendment included a recommendation that the entire zoning code be audited by the end of 2025. Jackson Holmes, Boise State Public Radio.
And that's today's episode of The Connector. I'm James Dawson, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. To stay in touch with the news between now and then, check out boisestatepublicradio.org or download the free Boise State Public Radio app. Thanks for listening.